It's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. In the last video, I told you that our brains are us, that damage to the brain is damage to who we are as people. Keep all of that information in the back of your mind while I tell you about the psychiatrist. There was a mother in my support group. She was a psychiatrist who had a dream. She wanted to open a clinic specifically for kids who have what researchers call callous-unemotional traits, what the DSM calls conduct disorder, and what I call psychopathy spectrum disorders. She knew what needed to be done. She had all the training, all the strategies, all the knowledge, but living with these kids is very different from treating them in an office. Hi, my name is Lilith Quillen. I am the founder of the Facebook-based support group, Parents of Children with Conduct Disorder. When academics, researchers, and professionals who have children on the psychopathy spectrum need support, they come to me. The first time the psychiatrist's son tried to kill her, he poisoned the orange juice in the refrigerator, crushing up a bottle of her medication and putting it in the carton. I forget exactly how old he was at the time, but he was definitely no older than 10. He hadn't even hit puberty yet. His sister accidentally drank some of the poisoned juice. She was okay. She didn't drink very much, but his mother ended up in the ICU for 5 days. The second time this kid tried to kill his mother, he bludgeoned her while she was sleeping. The mother woke up, opened her eyes right before he attacked her. The last thing she remembered seeing before she lost consciousness was her own son standing over her with a blunt force object. She was in the ICU for 5 days. Again. You know what the hospital did? They refused to file a police report. Both times. They said they only cared if parents hurt their children, not the other way around. They said they weren't mandated to file a police report, so they weren't gonna. Being mandated reporters just means there are certain circumstances under which they must file police reports. Nothing precludes them from filing a police report under other circumstances. They still refused to do it. Child-to-parent violence is domestic violence. The hospital flat out refused to report it. Because she was a doctor, her medical license was suspended. The medical board assumed that if a kid tried to kill her, she must have done something to deserve it. Now, let's play devil's advocate for a second. Let's assume that's true, that she was such a terrible person that her kid had good reason to try to murder her. If the medical board really believed she was so abusive that her son tried to kill her with good reason, why weren't they ensuring that child was safe? Why weren't they protecting her other 3 children? Either way, someone should have done something. The police also refused to investigate. They wouldn't believe it was her kid. They said there must have been an intruder in the house, despite the fact that all the doors were locked and the mother absolutely remembered seeing her son standing over her. Plus, this wasn't even the first time he'd tried to kill her. The police still refused to investigate. Remember when I said that parents like us are doing the jobs of 25 people? These parents literally had to be their own police department. Because the police refused to investigate, the parents went online and bought a forensics kit. They bought a black light and luminol. That's the stuff that law enforcement uses to find blood that someone's tried to hide. They found the bloody pillow the son had hidden in the garage. Not the police, the parents. The son later confessed in therapy, yes, he had tried to kill her. The police still did nothing. This child also sexually assaulted their Pomeranian. That's a very tiny dog. The dog was injured. The vet said the injuries were consistent with rape. I saw the pictures of the blood on the bathroom floor. It was a lot. You wouldn't think such a tiny dog would have so much blood. The dog was terrified of him after that. The son had even gone online and bragged about it, written about sexually assaulting their dog. Bragged about it. The parents found that online and showed it to the police. Want to know what the police said? The police said, boys will be boys. Said he was just talking big to sound like a man. I'm sorry, what? Real men don't rape dogs. The police said they couldn't prove he actually did it, even though the dog was injured, even though the vet confirmed it, even though there were copious amounts of blood, and even though he'd written about it online. So let's talk about what a traumatic brain injury that severe does to someone. If you're unconscious in the ICU for 5 days, that's a pretty serious head trauma. In the second to last video, I told you about my head injury in May, how I couldn't tolerate screens for 4 months, how I'm still having trouble finding words, and I never even lost consciousness. If I'm still having problems 5 months after a head injury where I didn't lose consciousness, imagine how much worse it was for her. She was unconscious for 5 days. The damage to her brain was far beyond what I can even conceive of from personal experience. She received 0 treatment for the TBI. 0, zip, zilch, nada, nothing. This child had 4 children total. You want to know something important? All 3 of their other children are perfectly well behaved. No behavior problems at all. All 3 of these children corroborated the devastation caused by their sibling. If parenting was the problem, why were the other 3 children perfectly fine? All this was happening right when Facebook started censoring content and removing posts. The mother had written a simple sentence in our support group. Our son had sex with our dog. She wasn't advocating for it. She wasn't celebrating it. She was asking for help. She was trying to figure out how to deal with this. Facebook took it down. They said it went against their community standards. If posts like that get taken down, I can't help other parents. Other parents can't help other parents because none of us can read what's happening. Her spouse told me later that she kept asking, why do they want to silence us? Why won't they let us talk? This family did everything right. They owned their own home outright. They had money in college funds for all 4 of their children. As a psychiatrist, this mother was the breadwinner. By the time the child was finally removed from the home, the surviving spouse couldn't pay rent and had to sell their electronics to survive. The courts kept charging fines, expensive therapies, court fees. Even though they were the victims of domestic violence, the parents had to pay the fees to foster care. At one point, they were threatening to throw the surviving spouse in jail for not being able to pay these fines. The surviving spouse is a nurse, and in that state, if a nurse gets thrown in jail, they lose their nursing license. None of their kids can go to college now. They're all staying home working to help provide income for the family. We ignore child-to-parent violence. We treat victim parents like perpetrators. Through systemic abuse, we leave families morally, spiritually, and emotionally bankrupt. Then, on top of it all, we financially bankrupt them too. Instead of helping the most vulnerable families, people who are already abandoned and neglected by their entire community, the system destroys them and charges them for the pleasure of doing so. The Facebook censorship was one of the last straws. Very shortly after that, she was able to do what her son was unable to do. Now she's dead. The irony is not lost on me. The only way this mother thought she could escape from the trauma of her child trying to kill her was to kill herself. The human body's capacity to keep going, to keep wanting to live in the face of trauma is huge, often awe-inspiring. But this woman experienced so much trauma that the only way she could see out of this horrible situation in which her child was trying to kill her was to kill herself. It's not just a person who died. It's her dreams that died. She was going to open a clinic for kids like this. She had the knowledge, the training, the expertise. She could have helped so many families. She could have helped so many children to live meaningful lives that aren't centered around violence and hurting people. She could have made such a huge difference in the world. Instead, she's dead. Dead people don't open clinics. Even a parent who theoretically should have been able to handle this, who had all the knowledge and the training and the expertise, she wasn't able to handle it. Now she's dead. We don't got this. We can't got this. We don't got this. I run a support group with over 4,700 parents from all over the world. I have a running list in my head of children I'm most worried about becoming prolific serial killers. This kid is at the top of that list. If me saying that horrifies you, I'm more horrified that I have such a list to begin with. It is an absolute fact that there are children out there that if nothing interrupts their trajectory, will absolutely become serial killers. This child is now in the foster care system. The people caring for him think his behavior was 100% because of his parents. They think he's a good boy, and the only reason he had bad behavior was because he had terrible parents. Yet the other 3 siblings are living proof that they're wrong. When you have foster parents raising a child like this who are blaming everything on the original parents, saying that nothing is the child's fault and everything was the previous parent's fault, that is an absolute recipe for unmitigated disaster. This child's best chance of not becoming a serial killer was his mother, the psychiatrist. And she's dead. This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Child-to-parent violence is as prevalent as intimate partner violence. We are literally ignoring half of all domestic violence. This psychiatrist, this mother who could have changed so many lives, is dead because of child-to-parent violence, because Facebook censored her, because the system failed her, because nobody believed her and nobody helped. This is why we're organizing a strategy session on screening kids during the early intervention period, before everything spirals. This is why parents can't lead this alone. We need researchers, teachers, pediatricians, grad students, healthy community members who have the time, the energy, and the health to make this happen. If you want to help, email Lisa at disordersofaggression.org. That's Lisa at disorders, DISORDERS, of aggression, AGGRESSION.org. It's also in my bio. We don't got this. We can't got this. We don't got this. But you can actually do something about this.